Tiffany Fontenot here. What is reverse speech? God made our brain in two hemispheres, and He made our consciousness in two different directions. The forward direction is the free will direction where we can lie or tell the truth. But in reverse, that is an involuntary system, and we cannot lie from that side of our consciousness.
Look at that Congress, all on their feet for Benjamin Bibi Netanyahu. That's who we're talking about today. I found a couple of reversals to go over. So here we go. He says, he's talking about the world being in upheaval. He brings up the Middle East and Iran's axis of terror confronting America, Israel, and Arab friends. The reversal is snare, frat, run it, close it. My crime was an Alfnit. Her act was Sue Scat his Nawi. Sealed imminent. Whore beef man is it? Snore war. Okay, so let's take a listen to that one.
Our world is in upheaval. In the Middle East, Iran's axis of terror confronts America, Israel, and our Arab friends. Snare frat on it. Allergic. Hard must not fnet. What's this guy is Nawi? Seal limited. Whovish man is it? Slow up. Snare frat on it. Allergic. Hard must not fnet. What's this guy is Nawi? Seal limited. Whovish man is it? Slow up. Snare frat on it. Allergic. Hard must not fnet. What's this guy is Nawi? Seal limited. What is it? Slow up.
So what does all that mean? He says our world is in a snore war. Basically, this is the interpretation. Our world is in a snore war, or a war to awaken the people, and is in upheaval connected to men who work for the herd that follows the whore AI. Whore in this context is likely to be the whore of Babylon, who forced a worldview on people she conquered. Those not destroyed were subverted, and God's people were attacked through governmental persecution and through seduction and idolatry. Connected to the Middle East and Iran's axis of terror, and the forward speech there appears to be framed in divisive subconscious context of World War II, Axis power language. And then it is an imminent, which means about to happen, sealed or secret deal that is blamed on leaving or not addressing in some way Nawi. Nawi is likely the research program that is a public-private partnership supported by the U.S. Department of Energy and the California Department of Water Resources and their Water Control Board, connected to funding and climate change objectives. This is the URL that you go to for it, and we're just going to take a look at that right now. Okay. It says Nawi is led by Department of Energy's Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory in collaboration with National Renewable Energy Laboratory, Oak Ridge National Laboratory, National Energy Technology Laboratory, Okay? So it is a research program, and so that may be what they're talking about right there. Okay, so more stuff about water. Watch the water is coming through. Also, we want to take a look. Here is, remember when Jared Kushner went on his book tour and Richard Grenell interviewed him? He said that his friends and he were getting into the water business. Okay, so if you would like to go to our URL right here, I put that interview up. Okay, and the thing is about his, the syndicate and what he's connected to is that their business model is money from suffering, okay, indicated via all the reverse speech I've found so far, money from suffering and using sabotage. Okay, so they've got to sabotage your water in order to get you to pay them money, like a protection scam. Okay, so this is not good. And then the last part, what confronts America is Netanyahu's crime, which is connected to AI, and what has been created connected to it. Interestingly, he uses past tense there. He says, my crime was an Aufnit. My crime was an Aufnit. Indicates it's been created already. So connected to Israel is closing. It perhaps indicates the closing of a deal in some way connected to Israel, and the entrapment of Israel's Arab friends fraternity connected to the running of all this. Okay, so some sort of entrapment is always going on. There does appear to be a genuine fight over that grid. Looks like Team Satan versus Team Diet Satan. They built that grid with our own tax money, and we are being enslaved onto it. So you have both Team Diet Satan and Team Satan wanting to change the Constitution. Why do they want to do that? Because our Constitution, the way it is now, does not tolerate slavery. And if you force everything, all of creation, onto a giant internet of everything, it's a control grid. So that grid that was paid for fraudulently across the world using all of our tax money by this public-private partnership that you see mentioned here, this is one of the members. There are tons of them, and they're all part of that syndicate. Okay, so you have a global transhuman technocratic syndicate, and they are vying for control. So it's sort of like good cop, bad cop, or if you want to think of it as the Borg versus the Federation, both communists, but one group appears to think that it can run that grid humanely. This whole system, it is a medical system, it is a punishment system, and it is a communication system, all rolled into one. So you have a group that appears to be Diet Satan that wants to be able to make money on that grid and use it for technology and making money and all that. They seem to want to try to run it a little more ethically than just under having somebody's boot on your neck all the time on that same grid and running it in a satanic, tyrannical, totalitarian technocracy.
There is likely a berserk wing of the artificial intelligence community that intentionally or unintentionally could use artificial intelligence to kill all of us and hurt us the entire time that we are dying.
The nuclear bomb totally transformed warfare. There are those that now say that we're on the cusp of something similar.
Weapons guided and driven by artificial intelligence are no longer science fiction.
We've already entered into a neuroscientific and neurotechnological speedway. It's an international speedway. Multiple lanes, many countries, multiple vehicles, multiple techniques and technologies that are being used within military intelligence operations.
Using technologies like gene editing and brain-machine interfaces to enhance military capabilities and control its own people.
It says that China's People's Liberation Army is developing high-technology weapons designed to disrupt brain functions and influence government leaders or entire populations, firing electromagnetic beams.
Mind reading, with all its unthinkable promise and peril, made real.
The really big thing is hacking human beings. To hack human beings, you need a lot of biological knowledge, a lot of computing power, and especially a lot of data.
That's been from the beginning of DARPA's information technology mission, and it continues to this day.
The future of mind control, and the future being right now because these experiments are being done, is using gene editing tools.
The use of gene editing techniques, gene editing and gene scissoring techniques to be able to modify the genetics and genomics that contribute to the way our brain is structured to allow real-time access to read from the living brain and write into the living brain remotely, through the cloud, through the web,
Quantum computers harness the peculiarities of quantum physics to process information in ways far beyond the reach of even the most advanced classical computers.
This power-hungry cabal of billionaires and politicians has long plotted to enslave the masses, and now they're making their move.
To impose new forms of torment or torture, it will make you a slave. And what do we do about this? What do? We resist.
So those are the two varieties on the same slave system. So it doesn't matter which one you do, it's still enslavement. One is just a little bit kinder than the other. So they're both satanic. That's why I say it's the lesser of two evils. You're still enslaving creation. And they have to have your agreement to do it. So if you are falling for technologies that you have to be chained wirelessly onto the Internet of Everything in order for them to work, okay, then you're part of the problem. And I've not found any technologies that are not being run on the back end of that system. So you can go to Sabrina Wallace for much more research that she has done on that. And let's move on to the next reversal. So this one appears to be an earthquake threat. It doesn't give a time frame, but it's being issued by Netanyahu via Israel and those who are running Israel.
So if you've been following my work, then you'll know that not only has now Microsoft got control of the software backdoor in Microsoft Windows, up to 90% of all computers, private, corporate and business, use Microsoft Windows. Active Directory, WMI, Windows Management Instrumentation, all that core code down to the kernel, trusted installer, the updates, they're all done in Israel. Now things are making sense.
Pleasure to see you. Hello? Hello. Hello. I think we're marking 25 years of cooperation between Microsoft and the State of Israel. We should now chart the next 25 years. Israel is a center of great technological innovation. Microsoft is a great technological company. It's a marriage made in heaven, but recognized here on earth.
Thank you so much, Prime Minister, and it's a real pleasure to be in Israel. And as you said, the 25 years have been fantastic. 25 years, and we look forward to 25 more.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now you see the massive security breaches, in particular the Intel factory in Israel itself, overrun with predominantly Russian technicians. Microsoft overrun with predominantly Russian computer coders.
Oh my. Now, given the history of Israel, and we've shown you 1,000 times over in everything, Intel Corporation, centering it all in, and there's good news about that too, I might add, that they we'll do a separate video where the Department of Defense says, no, we're not going to, they were going to have a little secure enclave and do all this specialist work with Intel, and said, we're not giving you $2.5 billion, your security is not up to scratch. Oh, really? Oh, shot across the bows. Something's going on. It's a long bow. Don't know if I'll get to the end of the road, but there's something very strange happening. So you remember that stuff about the WannaCry virus. Given all you know about Israel and every single thing they're in, you don't think it's possible that they're sabotaging Boeing, just like they sabotaged NASA? Something's going on at Boeing, not just their incompetence. They are in there and they are being saboteured. They are bringing down aircraft, in my opinion. And that last one that was on its way to Santiago from New Zealand, now they're saying, oh, an airline hostess might have bumped a button on the back of the seat that moved the chair forward, and that took the autopilot off and it went up and down. Really? You sure it wasn't a bit data drop by some little electromagnetic weapon? I don't know, in a satellite. You know, many of those satellites are Israeli. Ask Iran Press TV. Are you sure it's not the Boeing uninterruptible autopilot versions of it, whether it's Airbus or Boeing? You're sure? And is it, let me guess, it's Israeli? Is it a backdoor chip, an industrial controller chip within the control systems of these aircraft? Is this just another part of leverage, whether it's an Epstein sex ring, blackmailing and bribing? Whether it's the cyber backdooring of the United States? There's no Russian hackers or Chinese hackers. They wouldn't dare attack the United States. They exist, but they're using it as an excuse. The NSA is removing the hardware and software from all these key critical components of US critical infrastructure. That's what's going on. And the fight is on. And they know damn well this is why BiBi can do whatever he likes in Gaza, kill as many as he likes in Gaza. That's part of the deal. Because the coffin masturbating Yale skull and bones wasps out of the United States are so fucking corrupt, BiBi's got leverage. But BiBi's been told, you come here, you do the business, you kill the Arabs, you cleanse the Gaza Strip, you cleanse the West Bank, and that's it. You leave. You get Netanyahu and associates. And now we see the building of a pier. This may well be the beginning of the occupation of occupied Palestine by US military forces. It may well be. And we are seeing the end of the multipolar world order coming into true unipolar US elite domination. And I don't know if that's good or bad. It's going to be up to individual Americans to make sure your own government does its job. We hope to embarrass all these talking online heads who are doing nothing. They won't support, they won't talk about them. They're sure as shit not going to talk about it, especially as I'm associated. And you will see how controlled, corrupt, and pathetic these groups are. You will see how bad it is. We need to start thinking outside the box. I can't believe that Boeing would have killed that whistleblower. It just looks so bad. But somebody else might have. You remember Kay Griggs?
NATO intelligence, wet operations guys, psychological operations guys.
Okay, now when you refer to wet operations, WET, does that stand for something?
Yes, it means murder, assassinations groups. NATO has a group of assassins and psychological operations specialists who work in combined operations to destroy targets. Some of the people who are affiliated with the SEALs I shouldn't say that. I'm not going to say it, but
Well, it wouldn't be hard for a SEAL to come from underwater and tip the boat over and make sure the man's dead, that sort of thing?
the Israelis train with the SEALs. They do a lot of wet ops, murders,
Okay.
over here.
The people that do the jobs out there right now that you know nothing about, biomedical, biophysics, electrical engineers who log into databases to work with you inside your blood and tissue. And I'm sitting over here stuck in the middle of the old way of 1995. I was born in 1979, graduated high school in 1997. All people did is lie about what they did when they went to work, and they hurt people real bad and get away with it by not talking about it for what it is. So I had no idea in 2019, well, along with everyone else, when, oh, there's a virus, I'm like, what? I said, hang on. And then as it kept going and I kept paying attention, it just got worse and worse. I'm like, wait a minute, I know what this is. Why? Because unlike everybody else out there who are afraid of a terahertz bullet, they're afraid of these signals because they will kill you. And that's why they've all had their mouths paid shut. These signals and these systems work or Boeing and Raytheon, and electronic warfare would not exist so quietly for information surveillance and reconnaissance. If our surveillance doesn't work, we get our ass kicked. It's working great, isn't it? The TechMetric PDF is the one that I made so that people would know what they were looking at technically. I am a former network engineer on the back end of Northcom. I worked a job by myself as a 19-year-old young lady at Charter Communications, which is currently Spectrum. It's known as an internet service provider. So I wrote the Synergy TechMetric PDF by copying and pasting a series of technical documents that all have to do with routing data through human bodies. So I'm going to take you through the first 4 pages. Artificial Intelligence Symposium notes for decisions that have already been made with your DNA, tethered to ground with something called Project Maven. Sure, you have no fucking idea what that even is, and yet it's tethered to your DNA. If this is about your health, whatever I'm about to say, you should know about it. And if you don't, you've got to ask yourself, why is it you've never heard of this? Why is it that you never knew any of these systems existed? There is a reason. Somebody is keeping you stupid.
The reversal is the shares ill vest in the Missouri Bob, Neil Cube child cuss thee.
It's a clash between barbarism and civilization. Shares ill vest in the Missouri Bob, Neil Cube child cuss thee. Shares ill vest in the Missouri Bob, Neil Cube child cuss thee. Shares ill vest in the Missouri Bob, Neil Cube child cuss thee.
So connected to the clash between barbarism and civilization is a group's investment toward illness. Connected to, so the people that are trying to make everybody sick and profit off of it, same syndicate. Connected to Missouri and the motion of moving up and down quickly. And I'm saying, you know, are they trying to pop that New Madrid fault, which is going to be Jewish or Israel worshiping system, as a parent, so they would be our parent, connected to a curse coming through Netanyahu. So now, is this a threat to submit to Israel's horror worship syndicate or suffer an earthquake connected to hitting the New Madrid fault? And so I suggest that our, you know, people who are patriots and who are fighting against that tyranny look at specific people who would be in a place that would be rolling out technology that could pop that fault using directed energy weapons, etc. Weather warfare. I'd be looking at those specific people in charge of that and dealing with those people specifically in order to get that shit show shut down. So you have an article right here. It says, mega earthquake is poised to rock 5 states in America's heartland in the next 50 years. And this was posted when? July 26th, 2024. Today is July 29th, 2024. And I started this project today, on the 29th. I want to review something very quickly. Netanyahu is stirring up war against Iran. So everybody, war on Iran, war on Iran, war on Iran. This has been going on. Beating the drum to have a war on Iran. Take a look at, now I just think some of this with Bill, some of this is going to be ridiculous, okay? But this is from 14 years ago, especially toward the end. You know, a lot of it gets kind of silly and off into fantasy land. The ET PSYOP stuff is, I haven't found any ETs, guys. All the mention of ETs that come across in reverse speech is in connection to a scam in some way, okay? And what they're doing is they're covering their biological bastardization and eugenics and transhumanism with ETs. Okay, so, but I haven't found any ETs. Okay, so Bill Ryan, though, they had a British military guy. He doesn't think this is going to play out exactly as they received it, because they never do. But this was May 5th, 2010 that this was posted. So let's just listen to a few minutes of this, because it all starts with Israel being the aggressor against Iran. And by the way, I did find a reversal on McStain's girlfriend, Lindsey Graham, where he says that they are trying to nudge the bomb. The one that has Shaka Shakur on the front of it. It was a, long time ago. Here it is. Air Force testing and PSYOP. There he is. See him? Lindsey Graham. This is just the beginning of a huge orchestration. So they are trying to nudge the bomb. They are trying to get support for it. And we'll see what happens. But there are lots of threats and saber rattling going on right now. And this is the one that you want right here if you want to hear that reverse speech. I'm not going to go over it again here. But let's take a listen to Bill Ryan for just
even though it doesn't look like it's going to be on track, I don't think this will happen. I think that there are a bunch of crazy people there who are extremely determined to do something, and they were in a hurry, and this is important to understand. They were in a rush to try and roll out this sequence of events. Now, what he described is what the sequence of events was. It starts with Israel attacking Iran. Now, this hasn't happened yet. There have been a number of indications that there are forces which are trying to push this into happening. You've only got to follow the news for the last 2 years to realize that the public is being prepared for a justification for this kind of thing. Iran is being set up as being the bad guys that deserve something to happen to them, and so on and so forth. Now, that's going to be the start of what is like the opening gambit in a big chess game. And the plan is to provoke Iran or China to retaliate. And our guy, our source, who is a military man, is privately as convinced as he can be, although this has never been made public and this is not publicly known, that Iran does have nuclear weapons. He believes that they have been provided by China behind the scenes. And all of this is intended because it's all right with these controlling forces that Iran has nuclear weapons, because they want them to be used. The plan is for either Iran or for China to retaliate after Iran is struck with a nuclear weapon. At that point, there will be a limited nuclear exchange in the Middle East, followed by a ceasefire. He heard this being planned in this meeting. This is being choreographed. It's like the script for a movie. This is exactly what's intended to happen.
Okay. And ultimately, they don't win, but I don't know how much of this ridiculousness we have to go through before everybody wakes up and stomps a mud hole in it. All of this ridiculous nutball stuff. Now, I also, Steve Pachinik seems to be Team Diet Satan, but he's, let's listen to his, because he does want to change the Constitution. He says it's outdated. So does Tori. She says it's outdated. That's a red flag for either Team Diet Satan or Team Satan.
As a matter of fact,
AIPAC is a dangerous lobbying group. As Brad Sherman, Congressman Brad Sherman of California, a very smart, rational, liberal Democrat, said the most powerful group in Congress, bar none, is AIPAC. You're either with AIPAC or against AIPAC. In fact, we Jews represent less than 3% of the United States, yet we influence over 67% of all the people, all the congressmen, all the senators, all the presidents, all of whom have to abide by AIPAC's dictates. Now, AIPAC says, oh, we don't donate to anybody. That's correct. Like a Jewish mob run by Meyer Lansky and Long East Wilman, they're very shrewd. What do? They have a PAC, and what they do is to create all kinds of boondoggles where they allow Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, the Bushes, Obamas to all go on free trips all around the world, also to Israel several times, to make sure that they are pro-Israel. If you are not pro-Israel, you are then against AIPAC, and AIPAC will take you down. Now, let me explain something to you. As an operative in the United States government and as a military officer, I have worked against the Israelis and their danger. The Mossad is exceedingly dangerous to the United States. Number one, they had planted their operatives in the White House. When I told Giori Ram, the head of the Intelligence Air Force in Israel, to get rid of them, he understood what I meant. In 2005, the intelligence community got rid of a man named Franklin and Stephen Rosen, who was head of the AIPAC committee, and they were indicted for espionage against the United States. That's not something mild. That's not just lobbying. That is literally breaking into our intelligence capacity. Do you think Israel is really the best ally we've ever had? Wrong. I found the Israelis in the West Bank to work and created a group called Hamas. All of everybody said, oh, they're terrorists. Well, the Israelis are so sharp that what they do is create Hamas in order to counteract Hezbollah. Now, in fact, if you think Iran is an enemy of Israel, then think again. Because in the war between Iraq and Iran, guess who flew for Iran? Unmarked Israeli Phantom jets that we gave them and the French gave them. That's right. Israelis flew for the Iranians. For those of you who don't know anything about the history of Iran, Darius and Cyrus the Great freed the Jews from Babylonia. So we prayed to them. We don't pray to anybody else, but we prayed to an Iranian, a Persian. Then for those of you who think, once again, Iran is a danger, you better think of the fact that in 2006 to 2010, Israeli operatives were working in Iran and living there during Passover and enjoying Passover Seder. And again, if you think that Iran is a problem, why don't you ask the Israelis who ship oil to Iran secretly and nobody says a word? And one more bit, if you think Iran is if Israel is such a great ally, why did I pick up the fact that Israel sold missiles to Syria and Iran and then came back and said to me, oh, these missiles are pointed to us, when I in fact proved that they were the same missiles that the Israelis sold to the Chinese. Let me say something that Martin Luther King once said. Ignorance and lying is a very dangerous dynamic. Well-intentioned stupidity is even more dangerous. AIPAC has created a scenario of fear and mobsterism that has to disappear. This is Dr. Pachenik. Good luck and good night.
Okay. CARE is Hamas. Here is a book, How the Federal Government Proved That the Council on American Islamic Relations is a Front for Terrorism. So, and you just heard Dr. Pachenik say Hamas is Israel. Well, CARE is Hamas. So, all three of them. I've had red flags in one of the squad that's, claiming to be anti-Israel and pro-Palestinian, and she appears to be bought by the same people. CARE is Hamas and Hamas is Israel. So, it's time to stop being sucked into all this ridiculousness and, start really holding people accountable and speaking the truth about all of it. It's just a big, fat, hairy mess. And I'm just going to show you two posters here. This one Joseph Goebbels said, accuse the other side of that which you are guilty. He was a Nazi propaganda minister. Okay. And then the other one is this. So here is the politician. The people are walking away from him. And then he sets off an explosion in the direction they're walking, and they run back and pay attention to him. Okay? That says it all right there. Okay. Thank you all for watching.
There's so many, it's so beautiful.